Hey, welcome back, and thanks for tuning in to Recruiting Insight. This is the place to be if you want to connect with the most successful recruiters, hiring managers, and innovators in the real estate industry. Hey, it's a great day to recruit, and today we're making a stop in Kansas City and checking in with Chad Dumas. Chad is the Senior Vice President of Brokerage for Reece Nichols and manages one of their largest offices. For those of you who don't know, Reece Nichols is the 800-pound real estate gorilla in the Kansas City metro area. They have 27 company-owned offices and 27 franchises spread across Missouri and Kansas. There are about 3,000 professional agents who keep all this running. To build something this large and successful, you know it takes a lot of recruiting, but it doesn't stop there. You have to build a culture that retains the high performers who have grown up and become successful in the organization. Now, there's no better person to help us understand how all this works in Reece Nichols than Chad. He started as a new agent, quickly became a high producer, became one of the most successful recruiting managers in the company, and is now part of the executive team. And he did all this inside the Reece Nichols framework. So let's jump in and see what we can learn from one of the rising stars in the real estate industry. Well, hey, Chad, thanks for joining us today. It's really a pleasure to be able to connect with you. Of course, we were introduced by some other folks in your company, but we know of Reece Nichols, and as many of our listeners who know of Reece Nichols as well, and it's great to be able to jump in and talk with you about what you're doing there.
Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Glad to be here today.
Yeah, can you just how about we start by just can you tell our listeners a little bit about how you got into real estate and how you eventually ended up in management with Reece Nichols?
Sure. So I was in retail before I was in real estate, and I worked in a mall, and it was my first job ever. At 16 years old, I got a mall job and just progressed through that company, and ended up traveling all over the world and on buying trips and different things. But 10 years into that, I decided I wanted to have a family and be present for my family. Retail's tough to do that. And, especially during the holidays and things, it just became very much a grind. And so I got into real estate in 2010 in a really tough market, obviously. And I was at that crossroads, wanted to be more present for my family. And now interviewing real estate agents, that's the reason everybody wants to get into real estate is flexibility of schedule, right? Like, super flexible. I can control my schedule and stuff. Well, got into it in 2010 and quickly realized it wasn't quite as flexible as what I thought. But figured out a way to make it more flexible for sure. And, basically, long story short, I just got tired of the retail thing, decided I want to do something different. And my dad was a builder. My dad passed away when I was 18 years old. But I had been around real estate forever. He built houses. I had kind of helped him on weekends and different things. But there was one person, his real estate agent, Lanny Dillon Schneider, who is a Reece Nichols B Summit real estate agent where I'm currently brokering. And I reached out to him and said, "Hey, Lane, I'm thinking about getting into real estate." And I'll never forget it. He says, "All right, let's meet. Let's meet for lunch." And so I did. We sit down, and he says, "Chad, I think you should rethink this thing. There's a lot of real estate agents right now. We're just coming off this great market. The market's shifting, and I'm telling you, a lot of people are struggling. But I'll tell you what, you should meet with my son-in-law. He sells Yellow Page phone books. And you should be a salesperson selling Yellow Page phone books." And I said, "Lane, I appreciate it, man, but this is what I want to do. You impacted my family's life when my dad passed away. And this is what I want to do. I want to give it a shot." And so talked him out of referring me to the Yellow Pages. Thank God. Got into real estate and have been at the same office, same company ever since then. And I started as a salesperson, obviously, and sold for about 5 years. And by the end of year 5, I was one of the top individual agents in the company. Sold 53 houses my final year. It was at this crossroads where I either needed to start adding structure, team members, and so forth, admin, or right at that time, our now CEO, who was our CFO at the time, Mike Frazier, along with Chris Kelly, who's the CEO of Ebby Holiday. They took me out to lunch and given my background in management, in the retail sector, they just kind of floated some ideas past me, and I said, yeah, maybe I would consider that. And then things happened quickly from there, and I took over for a legendary broker, Bonnie Merritt, who had been doing this for 30 years, and luckily she made the transition super easy for me, and the rest is history.
Yeah, that's a great story. I mean, I love that you spent so much time inside of Reece Nichols growing this. Really, when we ask people to do things, it's always better when you've already done it or you have your own experience with it. Let's talk for a minute about this decision, this time frame. I know it sounds like it was family driven. Hey, your career stage, but yeah, you got in during a downturn. I hear this a lot. Some of the high performers that are in our industry now are people that got in, 2008. 2009, 2010. Do you feel like that difficult environment really shaped your capacity to be a great agent and to be a great manager?
Yeah, I do. I definitely do. And part of that was by design. And, not only Lanny said, hey, you shouldn't do this, but also my wife, when I went to her, she said, Chad, everybody's a real estate agent. And I said, I get it, but I think I can carve out a niche. And I just turned 40, but at the time I was in my late 20s. And at the time, the average real estate agent age was, I think, 65 years old. And at that point, I said, I think I can get in, and I can communicate, I can connect with people of my age range, my age group pretty well. My friends now some are still buying first houses at that age, many are buying second houses. I can get in and work with those guys. But the main thing that I wasn't afraid of is work. And again, some of it because of my retail background, I had a strong work ethic that had been passed along from my father. And I knew that if I just got in and did the right things over and over again, that I could make this work. And I also had this idea that proved to be true, but coming off of a really strong market, some agents became very used to that market. They became very, not lazy. Lazy is the wrong word. But they just became used to that market and more of an order taker. And I didn't know that market. The only market I knew was entering the market in 2010, where you work for everything you have, and you're gonna have to sit on a lot of open houses and meet a lot of people and do a lot of the basic things very, very well. And so that's what I knew. That's what I learned from day one, and I think it did put me in an advantage. So I think, I think we're getting ready to enter not that same market by any stretch, but we are going to enter a time where the people that really work, that really put the effort in, they're going to be at a distinct advantage. So, there's this talk right now, I think, of, oh man, what the agents are going to considerably slow down that are going to enter the market or different things. But there's a real opportunity in this coming market for agents that really want to carve out a niche and become successful in this too.
So do you also think that there's a room for new agents at this point, or agents that maybe just, I think new agents probably, like you, that don't know what this crazy inventory situation is that's been going on for the last couple of years. Is this a good time for a new agent to step in and, kind of duplicate what you did?
I think that it is. I think you can find things to love about every market. And I recently told my group of agents that, like, hey, if you've loved the last 2-3 years, if you've just loved this market, this working with buyers, the multiple offer situation and so forth, and there are agents that have loved this market and they've thrived in it, then I'm going to take a guess that you're going to love the next market. And if you've absolutely hated every day for the last 2-3 years, then I'm going to guess you're going to find things to hate about the next market, the next 2 or 3 years, because you can find things to love in every market. And so I found things to love in 2010, which was a considerably different market than what we're in right now. But I love things about this market too. And I think if you focus on the right things, yes, absolutely. I think agents can succeed in any market. And our business, just like so many others, with the Pareto principle, 80-20 rule, that's going to continue to apply when the market changes. There's no question in my mind.
So really, either a person has to be able to pivot to these new skills, which it sounds like a lot of that's just mindset from what you're telling the folks on your team. Also, there's room for other people. There's always room for people that are coming into the industry and hey, this is a new challenge, new way of doing things. And it sounds like Reece Nichols would be a great place to do that.
Absolutely. I think any job in the world, no, not just real estate, but any profession, the great people will always make the industry better, the company better, and so forth. So no matter where the market is at, if you are the right person, you're going to find ways to be successful. So yes, I do believe in mindset for sure. But I also just believe in if you have big enough dreams and you're able to really put yourself out there, then you're going to be successful in this or whatever you decide to do. Just for me, real estate was the right match, and for many others it is as well.
Yeah. So let's talk a little about your office. As we talked in the startup here, you do manage one of the largest offices in Reece Nichols. What would you say the culture's like? What are some of the ways that kind of your core principles of running that office?
Yeah, so it's a massive office. We have almost 300 agents. We'll run 2,400 transactions or so this year out of this office. So it's a highly productive office, but I like to describe it as a high production office, but where it's not dog eat dog. So it's competitive, but healthy competitive. And I meet with people every single day who can't figure out how we've created that. And the answer is we just have really awesome people. I mean, that's just the truth. I mean, we really just have the best people in real estate in our area are right here. I believe that firmly. They're collaborative. They want to see each other succeed. They believe that you can succeed while your peer succeeds, and one doesn't need to take away from the other. And so I've always been a firm believer in success breeds success. And if you want to grow, you need to increase and improve the group of people that you are around. And I preach that every single day here. It's for me to preach because we have the best group around. So if you want to increase your productivity, if you want to increase your life, if you want to be somewhere that you just feel you want to be around, you want to be there, you want to be around the people, man, your environment's everything. And so if you're not at a place like that, the best thing you can do for your business and your life in general is improve the group of people that you're around. I guarantee your production will not suffer from that type of a change. In fact, it will more than anything, you're just going to be a happier person. So yeah, our culture is unmatched in my opinion, but it's because we just have just phenomenal people. And this was, Bonnie Merritt, the broker that was here before me, she was 30-year broker before me, and she was outstanding. And many of the people that are here because of Bonnie, and luckily they've stuck around after that transition came. But then I take definitely not a shotgun approach to recruiting, but more of a rifle approach. I'm very strategic. And the very first person that I ever had any meeting with when I took over this office is someone named Debbie White, who is a phenomenal agent, production-wise, but she's a better person than anything else. And that was from day one. I was setting a tone. This is the type of person that I want to add to our organization. And luckily for us, she decided to join, and then that was the first of many. But I think when you're very strategic around who you're adding to your culture, who you're adding to your organization, and they are productive people, but more than that, they're just great people, the culture takes care of itself. And then over time, we've been able to maybe take a couple risks that I probably wouldn't have taken back then. And as we've grown, as our cultures become better and better and better, I've taken a couple risks that maybe they don't exactly fit our culture, but they're not terrible people, anything like that. But they're not necessarily the person that I would have identified as number one 5, 6, 7 years ago. And so that's kind of the culture we build. And in turn, we become extremely diverse. We have probably one of the most diverse agent bases in the metro, and that's just happened organically. And it's just a really cool place.
Yeah, no, I can hear it. I can hear it in the way you're talking, and it's you have a reputation for that across the industry. But even the great marketing that you do on your website, I'd encourage anyone who wants to see how to put together a recruiting website and really highlight culture. Spend some time on the Reece Nichols site because you guys have done a great job with that. Let's drill down. Let's drill down a little bit more into recruiting. Can you tell me a little about? Let's look at your office initially, and then maybe at the company at the larger level. How many do you recruit on a yearly basis? How many new? How many experienced?
Yeah, so last year in my office, let's talk office first, recruited 73 agents in, and of that, 33 of them were experienced, and then 40 some would have been brand new agents. And so we have a really good mix. I think it takes both for sure in my mind, to build a long-term financially feasible brokerage. You can't have all of one or the other in my mind. And so we really try to build a balanced office of both new agents, brand new coming up, and then experienced agents. As a company, I think we brought on 425 agents. I could be off on that number, but 425 agents last year. It would be probably 70% new and 30% experienced agents of that total agent count is kind of where we usually fall. We started to see definitely more experienced agent movement coming our way over the last 6 months to a year overall as a company, but that's kind of our mix overall.
Okay, so do some quick math here. If you hired 400 some odd in the company and you hired 70 some in your own, so you must be near the top of the heap as far as the recruiting offices. Are you the highest recruiting office in the company?
Yeah, so I've been very lucky the last couple of years to have been. We have some other really great recruiting offices as well, but yeah, we've had a lot of momentum, and I believe momentum is kind of one of those things that isn't talked about enough in recruiting. But when you have momentum coming in, momentum works both ways for sure. And when momentum's coming your way, it makes your job as a recruiter a heck of a lot easier. And then the flip side of that is when momentum's not going your way, it's tough to reverse that momentum, to stop the negative momentum and to reverse. So when agents are going to other competitors or whatever, it's not impossible, but it's hard to be recruiting in the door when people are leaving at the same time. And so I've been very lucky. We have a strong retention here, and we have for a long time, knock on wood. And that's been helpful in my recruiting efforts. But also just people see some of the experienced agents, great reputation agents that are coming in the door. And I think on their own, it starts to pique their interest of, well, if they went there, maybe what am I missing? What do I need to get to know a little bit?
So that momentum, it sounds like, is becomes the base for referrals, agent referrals. Just some of the marketing that you're doing. It's the buzz that's going on in the marketplace. Is that generally where you're especially getting the experienced agents from?
Yeah. So yes, the answer is a lot of it is coming from agent referrals here. Co-ops or just things in general, but a lot of it honestly is me just getting out and getting in front of people. The same way that I described myself as an agent, open houses, handwritten thank yous, doing the basic level things. Everybody's always looking for the magic bullet, and still to this day, many agents are looking for the magic bullet. But the things that still work are the relationship building things, the things that anybody can do, but it just takes some effort. And I try to practice what I preach, so I try to do a lot of the same thing. And I am a relationship guy, and when I say that, I know everybody says that. Everybody's a relationship recruiter, but it's a long game. And recruiting is something that if you really are a relationship person, if you really believe in that, then you need to invest in relationships, and it takes a long time. And you need to be willing to. A relationship isn't so much of a take, but it's way more of a give. And so being willing to just give and give and give and give and give, maybe for nothing ever coming in return. I very much believe in that. It's subscribed to that. But the the main thing I really try to do is attract. I'm not a chaser. I don't like to cold call. I'm not a script guy. I'm just not. I like I'm anti all that stuff. And so I kind of from day one when I became an agent to today, it's the same thing. I don't want to make the same phone call that 50 other recruiters are making and tell them they're not being scripted, but they're on the other end of the phone going, oh my gosh, this is exactly the same conversation I've had a dozen times. And so I'm out and about a lot in the community. I run into a lot of people, and those are opportunities for me just to strike up conversations. But I have a very, very small list of people who I would tell you I'm actively recruiting. Very small, five, 6, 7 agents at any given time, and that's it.
Really? Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. But I try to do enough other things that attract people that I'm not even recruiting. So I have a decent amount of experienced agents that call me. Hey, I want to learn more about what you guys got going on. I love these 10 agents in your office and just want to learn more about why they love it so much where you're at and so forth. And then I have somewhere between 5 and 10 agents at any given time, agents or teams that I am really targeting. And so the two work in conjunction. But when I say I take a very strategic approach, I really do. I don't cold call. I don't have a certain number of calls I make in a day or a week or anything like that. I just try to stay very active in the community, very active on social media, attract a certain percentage, and then target the others.
Yeah. So it sounds like, just to summarize a little bit, it sounds like you're working a core, small group. You said 5 to 7, kind of what we'll call it a warm list that you're on. And you have a larger universe of people out there that could be contacting you, could be connecting with, could move on to that list when the circumstances are right. Is that?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay. Good. Okay. Awesome. Is there any obstacles that you really have been that you've run into that you've learned to overcome, or is there anything changing with the market changing right now in regards to recruiting?
Yeah, I mean, I think every company offers different value propositions, and whether you're talking about commission splits or tool packages or any number of things. So I'm sure that all of the same objections that you've heard from other people would apply here as well. Not every agent's looking for the same thing, and it's a matter of figuring out what they are looking for, and then figuring out, is that something we can actually deliver on? I don't want to promise somebody something and then they come in the door and we can't deliver on it. But really, I recruit to culture more than anything, and I recruit to our environment, and I can point to agent after agent after agent who has successfully made the transition, and their business has dramatically gone up, and their happiness level has dramatically gone up, and they have more time than they had before. And we've helped them put systems together that have helped them, or we've helped them establish teams and so forth. And I still very much believe that people join leaders and not companies or brokerages. And then past that, they really join environments, which many times is set by the leader. And so I wouldn't say I have a lot of objections, just your basic. I think there's an overall distrust from agents to recruiters, as there should be, frankly, of are you telling me just what I want to hear, or are you over promising me something? And I think there's absolutely a reason that agents should feel that way. And so it's my job through relationships and through time to show them that no, I am who I say I am, and we are what we say we are, and we're going to give you what we say we're going to give you. We're going to perform. And it's unfortunate that we are in an industry where there's so much cold calling, there's so many promises made to people that you don't even know, and so forth, that agents do have to be kind of on guard against that stuff. But so I think if anything, I just get grouped into the overall group of recruiters that are calling people. And so I got to work past that is probably the biggest objection.
Yeah, no, I get that. Well, let's pivot a little bit and talk about retention. And we've already talked about your culture being really kind of the base that you work from. You have a great group of agents there that talk about the great things that are going on. You have lots of great stories that you're able to share with anybody that would be from the outside. So let's use that as a baseline, or assume that that's a baseline. Are there any other techniques or methodologies that you're using to retain your agents?
Yeah, so it's really just making sure to connect with them, and all the relationship stuff that I have been talking about to this point certainly applies, and then some, to our agents. I got to know what's going on in their life. I got to know what's going on in their world, what struggles they're having in this business, how to make this business more enjoyable to them, how to structure slightly differently or add different pieces. Certainly from a business perspective, I think that's critical and very important. But I also think, again, I don't think you should ever build an office completely around all top performing agents, or all experienced agents, or all new agents, or all teams, or all individuals. And I think what we have developed here is a very balanced office. I have the number one team in the state of Missouri and Kansas, top 20 national team is based here. I have many brand new agents that are based here, and I have teams that look 1,000 different ways in the middle of all that. And I think that diversity amongst all the different business plans and strategies around that, I think that's helpful, because agents can come in and go, that's the model. I kind of like stuff about this model, and I kind of like things about this model, but I don't need to go all in on either model, because I can pick and choose things I like about how all these different agents and teams are performing. And so we have a unique culture in that. I mean, one of my teams is 150 agents, and then I have many 2-person teams, and I have everything in between there. And so it's a really unique mix of diversity from every level that I think has really helped create this culture that we have.
And I can tell that that's the glue, is the culture that you guys have, and that's what's doing it. But it's just interesting to hear you say that or articulate it in that way. Is anything changing because of the market conditions right now? Are you doing anything different than you were doing before, or is it just double down on the strategies that have worked for you in the last few years?
Yeah, so we're talking a lot about mindset, so just making sure mindset's right, that we're not overreacting to small glitches or little things that come up, that we're dissecting the information in the right, and we're taking all this national news data that's out there and shrinking it down to something that is far more consumable for the consumer. I think the consumer is overwhelmed with real estate news right now. And I think in turn, some agents are attempting to share kind of another side of the news, but in turn, they're just adding more news, because they're doing it in a blanket statement type way. And the consumer's confused, right? So this news source is telling me the market's crashing, but my real estate agent's saying the market's better than it's ever been, and it's a great time to sell, and where do I fit? And until we get one-to-one with them, they're confused and frustrated, and just like any other news source, and we've had plenty of it, right, in the last few years, no matter what the topic is, at some point you become immune to it, and you don't want to hear any more about it, whether it's COVID or whatever, right? And it's like, okay, I get it. I'm done. I'm shutting down. And I'm afraid that because of just how much real estate's been in the news, that the consumer's doing that. So I'm really talking to the agents a lot about shareable news things, but really encouraging them to get one-to-one with consumers, get one-to-one, and make it about. And so that's the thing I'm working mostly with agents. But no, I would say I'm not seeing any huge freak out moments or anything from agents yet, and hopefully we don't. I do think that mindset's everything as we go through any kind of a transition. So,
yeah. Well, as we wrap up, I wanted to kind of finish with one question. Let's suppose that we have a lot of listeners are in this situation where they inherit an office, kind of like you did, maybe not run as well, or and it's very uncommon to have one as big as you are. But let's suppose that you were taking over an office that had 30 agents, let's say. And what would you be doing to really kickstart recruiting and then build that retention culture that you've been talking about?
Yeah, so I think you go find 1, 2, or 3 people that you are putting all your eggs into that basket to feel important. Tell them why you are starting with them, that you really want to add them to your organization, that you want to, but you better be really clear on why, and you better be really honest and transparent on why. And that was my first several conversations, again, starting with Debbie White, is this is why I want to add you to our company, and this is what you can bring to my office. Recruiting, so much of recruiting, I think a lot of recruiters make it all about the person you're recruiting, and this is what I'm going to give you, and this is what I'm going to give you, and they never really say, this is why I want you, this is what you can give to me, this is what you can give to our culture. And there is an ego involved, right? And so sometimes just if you think about a basketball recruiter, they're not going and targeting every single point guard that's available. They're very specific, and they say, this is why we are the right fit for you, and this is what you can bring to our team, and so forth. And so I try to approach recruiting in very much the same way, but don't be afraid to recruit over the top of people. There is this fear, I think, sometimes, that people are like, man, if I have this top producer and they've been here forever, and if I bring someone over the top of them, is this person gonna get mad and leave? And I'll tell you, if the answer is yes, then you got the wrong culture. And so if you bring people in and suddenly, the culture suddenly starts to change in your favor, now the former top producer is still on your roster, but their voice is quieter. The person that maybe was kind of causing trouble in the office, but man, I need them financially, I need them production wise. Well, now you've got 3 or 4 other people that are doing more business than them, and their voice suddenly gets quieter. And that's the number one way that you can affect your culture, is to recruit in. And it's twofold. Not just you're recruiting great people in, but it also causes everybody that's on your current roster to go, okay, I can see the type of people he's after. That person's really positive and friendly. Maybe I should be more positive and friendly. Clearly, Chad, likes them enough to bring him in. Maybe that's and suddenly people start changing their habits and their behaviors and so forth to fit that. And this was a big office when I took it over, but it's twice as big now. And it's something where it would have been very easy to come in and just say, hey, it's a good office, we're good. I've got Rob Ellerman. He's the number 1 agent in the city, and we're comfortable. But that's not what we did. And now we have built on top, and we haven't lost anybody really, but we've just built on top of the foundation that was already here. And I think you just got to figure out what your foundation is, whether it's 30 agents or 100 agents, and who you see being the future of that office that's already there, and then how to build around them or over the top of them in some cases.
Right. It's really encouraging to hear you say that, because I think this whole idea that you're going to change culture through recruiting, and it's just what a concept and what a mindset to have when you really look through that lens. It just really allows you to be in control of no matter what you have or what you've been given, and grow it to a large level. Well, Chad, thanks so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. I know I've learned a lot, and our listeners are. For those of you who are listening, take what you learned today and go make a difference.